Hello, my name is Jim McGillivray and this is the Pipe Box, your source for all things piping. If you find this video useful, please give it a like and please subscribe to this YouTube channel to see more videos like this. We're going to go over a tune today and you can print out the music for this tune by going back to the description of this video on my YouTube channel. You will find a link to a PDF there. Today I would like to do with you an old Scottish classic pipe tune called the Rowan Tree. The Rowan Tree is a two-parted 4/4 march, and while it has a couple of tricky timing bits, I would classify it as an easy tune. You need to be able to play bottom hand grips, top hand half doublings, an E doubling, a B doubling, and a burl. This is a traditional tune, meaning we don't know who composed the melody. There are words to it. The tune has been around for an awfully long time. A woman named Carolina Oliphant, who lived from 1766 to 1845, wrote words to the melody at some point in her life. The words are important because this is, or at least used to be, a very commonly sung Scottish song. Here's the last verse. "Oh, there arose my father's prayer in holy evening's calm. How sweet was then my mother's voice in the martyr's psalm. Now all are gone, we meet nae mair aneath the rowan tree, but hallowed thoughts around thee twine, O hame and infancy, O rowan tree." The rowan tree grows throughout Northern Europe and is very distinctive because of its clusters of bright red berries. Let's have a look at the whole score for the Rowan Tree. As you can see, it's not a dense tune on paper. There's lots of room for expression and not a great deal of technique. The red circles you see highlight pieces of technique that might need work in order to make them accurately and clearly. The blue circles are places where we need to make sure technique is played on the beat, or we need to make sure the note is held out a bit. The trickiest bars are in line 3, where we have some persnickety grace notes to manage on the top hand in bars 1 and 2. Grips will be a big thing for us today. You have to play 9 of them in this wee tune, so if your grips aren't up to snuff, there is a video devoted solely to grips on this channel. You may wish to look this up. So that's what the tune looks like. Let's hear what it sounds like. Here is the Rowan Tree played on a Blair digital chanter. That was the Rowan Tree played on a Blair digital chanter. The low A on that chanter is currently tuned to B flat, which is 466 cycles per second. I do that because most practice chanters pitch just around there, so presumably you can play along with the Blair on your practice chanter if you so desire. Okay, let's look at the first part of the Rowan Tree. Let's look at the first 2 bars of the Rowan Tree. I want to address first and foremost in the first 2 bars the 3 grips you have to contend with before you even get the tune started. The first is a grip from B to C. The second is a grip from C to C. And then the third is B to C again. The grip from C to C is pretty straightforward. Make your grips fat and make them rippling. It's crucial that your C fingers hit the chanter at the same time and then come up at the same time at the end of the grip. So much of piping is about fingers hitting the chanter or leaving the chanter at the same time, and grips are a perfect example of that. The grip from B to C is a little bit tricky if you're not used to it. You may need to take this movement out and practice it on its own a bit. Now, one of the things that makes this grip a little harder than most is that there is a very short B in front of it. You'll notice that I have circled the low A lead-in note right at the start of the tune. And I've circled that because it's important that that note be held quite a bit and that the B be very short before the grip. So what I want to hear is the B is just audible. It's there, but it's very short. What I don't want to hear is this. Now, if you're still developing your grip movement or having trouble with your grip movement, you can make that B as long as you need to until you get that movement perfected. But once your grips are in good shape, try to shorten out that B before the short grip. Every time you hit it in this tune, hold that low A. So that's the 3 grips in the first 2 bars. One other thing, at the end of bar 1, you will notice there is a B quarter note, and I want you to notice that it has an E grace note on it, not a G or a D, but an E grace note. I always mention that because inexperienced pipers tend to gravitate toward G grace notes all the time, but keep your eyes open for the odd E grace note cropping up. In bars 3 and 4, you'll see 2 half doublings circled here. Why? Very simple. I want to make sure that you hit these on the beat. For example, in bar 3, the half doubling from high A to F. The beat comes when you hit the very first F. The grace note in the half doubling comes after the beat. Avoid doing this. Okay, wait for it. Make sure that the grace note is after the beat. Same thing in bar 4. We have an F half doubling there. Now let's look at line 2, bar 7. I've circled an E doubling there, and I've circled that for largely the same reason. It's a doubling, which means the first grace note in the movement is on the beat. It's an easy place to play an E doubling because we're already sitting on E, but wait for the G grace note to be on the beat, something like this. Try to avoid this. That's early, on the beat. At the end of bar 7, we have a C 8th note, and I just want to make sure you know that there is a D grace note on that C 8th note. So the ending is again, make sure that's not a G grace note, it's a D grace note. Okay, that's the first part. Let's hear the first part played in the practice channel. The second part has a few little quirks of its own that we need to address here. There are some things from the first part that still apply. If we look at bars 5 and 6, in line 4, we see that we have our 3 grips again. If we look at the end of bar 4, in line 2, we see we have our long, low A lead-in note to the next line, which is before the grip from B to C. So we want to hold that low A long as we did at the very start of the tune. In bar 7, in the last line, we have the E doubling that we want to make sure we play squarely on the beat. And then we have our D grace note on our short C at the end of that bar. So those are things we've already addressed. Let's look at the first 2 bars. Here the grace noting needs really close attention. If the tune is new to you, work through these 2 bars, all this top hand work, as absolutely slowly as you need to get every grace note and every note right. I find pipers make sight reading mistakes because they try to play the tune too quickly the first or second time through. I take 2 bars like this as absolutely slowly as I need to until I get the grace notes right. I don't worry about the beat, I don't worry about music, I worry about which note and which grace note comes next. So we have a string of F, high G, and high A grace notes in those first 2 bars that you need to get right to play this tune well. And there's an F strike in there as well. The timing is a little bit tricky because there is a dotted quarter note in the middle of the bar. Bar 2 has all quarter notes, but we have to hold that high A just a little bit longer in bar 1. So take your time getting the grace noting and the timing right in those 2 bars. Let's look now at bars 3 and 4 in line 3. We have a run down. We've already talked about the E with the half doubling being on the beat. Then we have a run down. Don't play that too quickly. I've seen pipers sort of cascade down that run too quickly and lose the beat and the rhythm of the tune. I want you to notice in the music in bar 4 in line 3 that that D has a dot on it. Even though those 2 notes, the D and the C, are written as fairly short notes, we do want to put a little bit of pointing on that D before we run down to the B doubling. So bars 3 and 4. And we're going to hit the B doubling squarely on the beat. G grace note squarely on the beat. It's after a short note, so here again you're going to be challenged by having to play a doubling, not a grip this time, a doubling after a very short C. So that may need a bit of extra work. Okay, that's everything we need to know about the second part. Let's hear the second part played in the practice chanter. Let's talk about tempo for a moment. In the recording that I made on the Blair chanter, I played the tune at around 85 beats per minute, between 84 and 86. To my mind, optimum tempo for this tune would be between 82 beats per minute and maybe as high as 94 if you're marching at a very good clip. If you've watched any number of these videos, you will know that my mantra is to never play a tune faster than you can technically manage. If you practice a tune with poor technique because you're playing too quickly, you will get really good at playing poor technique. If you go into pipetunes.ca, my sheet music download site, you will find a lovely harmony to the Rowan Tree. That's it for this great old Scottish classic. May you warm the hearts of Scottish folk when you play it. Until next time, from me, Jim McGillivray at the Pipe Box, good piping.